So welcome to this YAPS interview. I'm Varpu Haavisto, chairman of YAPS Finland. Today my guest is Amit Barak from Israel. Amit has returned about a week ago or so from Gaza, where he participated in intense fighting against the terrorist organization Hamas. He has promised to tell us about his experiences in the war and what he saw in Gaza. But before we go to that, could you, Amit, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background?
So I'm Amit Barak from, I live in a small community in Gush Etzion, Israel. I'm a tour guide and I come from the civil society field. That's what I'm doing in the last 15, 20 years. And so for the last 3 months, I was a soldier. I'm already 25 years doing reserve army. So October 7th, we got the call, and last Wednesday, it was my last day in duty for this round.
Amit, would you like to share something about the October 7th and what the consequences were in Israel and in your life personally?
Well, actually, on that day, I was in Tiberias in a hotel with a group from Norway and different countries in Africa. That was their supposed to be their last day in a trip to Israel.
Yeah.
When we went to breakfast and I opened the WhatsApp and I saw the different videos from different communities and the cities, Sderot, Netivot, I understood immediately that it's not another terror attack.
Mhm.
It's something much bigger. When I saw the pickup trucks in the street of Sderot and Netivot, I already knew that the number of injured is going to be very, very high. But I must say that I thought about few hundreds, not over 1,000.
Yes.
So right away, first we changed the course for the trip. I was with another tour guide, so I told him, "You will take the group from here." I called my parents who live not far from Tiberias. I asked my father to bring me uniforms.
Mhm.
We already spoke on telephone, on WhatsApp with the guys in the unit and in my community, which is located in Judea and Gush Etzion. So we also had the red alerts in the community. Then I started to go back first home to help in the community, and then we got the call to come to the unit in the evening. I already was in my base, and we started to prepare for the war.
Yes. Yes. How long did you fight in Gaza, and in what kind of combat missions were you in?
I'm in a paratrooper reserve unit. So overall, we were, I think, more than 60 days in Gaza. About 30 days before, we trained, we practiced, we worked on the equipment to get everything ready.
Yes.
And then we went into Gaza.
Yes. Yes. So many in the West still express doubts about whether Hamas uses civilian targets like hospitals, kindergartens, and UNRWA schools and others for military purposes. So would you like to tell us about the reality in Gaza? What did it look like?
So they're using schools, they're using kindergartens, they are using hospitals, and we saw it on our own eyes. We were next to two hospitals. In one of them, they found net of tunnels from the hospitals into the ground. and a large net. In other hospitals, they found different equipments and materials.
Mm.
And I must say that also in the different houses of so-called civilians, families, that we entered and we stayed in every house, verily in every house, we found evidence of supporting of terror, whether if it's supporting Hamas or PLO, Fatah, or other organizations. It was in every single house. We found weapons or photos or books with different signs and different says and different materials of supporting terror. And also in the schools and in the homes of family. And you when you enter a house, you see the different rooms. You see which rooms is the room of children. And I can tell you, as a father, it's not it's not feel good to enter into a room of children and to see all what they left behind, the clothes, the toys. But then we found the materials that they study from, the books of schools. Unfortunately, I don't read Arabic, but even if you don't read Arabic, you can see from the photos, from what they are drawing, from everything in the books, how Israel is not exist. You can see the map of the land of Israel, but nothing about Israel. What you can see about Israel is how they are showing the IDF soldiers, how they drawing the IDF soldiers, and from the other side, you can see how they draw, how they present the terrorists like Hamas and others as heroes. And that's what they learn at school. And we saw it in every house, and we saw it also in one of the schools. And I know that it wasn't a surprise for us.
Yes.
People are speaking about it in the last years. Also in Europe, there are few countries that cut or canceled their funding to the Palestinian educational system, but it's still going on.
Yes. Did you have any encounters with Gazan civilians where you could have get the impression that there are some people who oppose the Hamas ideology or the October 7th attack?
No, we didn't see civilians except some terrorists. We did see later in the last weeks before we came out that how they are using the civilians. We saw and we heard on the radio about elders or children that are carrying bags, and they had weapons in the bags. So from one side, one perspective is we can say that the Hamas and the other terror organization are using them, and they have no choice because they strayed them. But then I must say that few weeks after Israel started to bomb Gaza, I saw a video of civilians in Gaza that they are cursing Hamas. They're blaming Hamas that their houses were bombed by Israel. But then in the ceasefire, in the week of the ceasefire, when Israel stopped everything,
Yes.
the army just stood, and the Hamas released the hostages. I saw few videos of civilians in Gaza praising Hamas and praising the victory and trying to harm the hostages and the vehicles of the Red Cross. So I'm saying to myself, the civilians, they are part of it. It's not that Hamas forced them. They are part of this terror. And Gaza, we cannot say that there is Hamas in Gaza. Gaza is Hamas. Gaza is terror, and that's what they are. That's what they are live around. Hamas could be really a second Dubai. with all the international money and the money from Qatar that they received, and with the beautiful beaches that they have in Gaza, in the sea, they could be something really, really beautiful. And I remember that before the disengagement plan, and even maybe before that, after the Oslo Accords,
Yes.
some left leaders in Israel said that Gaza is going to be like Singapore.
I remember also that. Yeah.
That's not the reality.
Yes.
That's not the reality. That's not what they want. They just want to fight Israel. They want to fight the Jews. They want to fight the Western civilizations. And it's a war of civilizations, and it's a war of the Islam against the West. That's what it is.
Yeah. What is the role of the UN? So, and especially UNRWA in Gaza, because I think there's lots of UNRWA facilities in Gaza. So, did you see anything like with your own eyes, like how UNRWA is working there? Or?
Yeah, first I saw one hospital, one big clinic of UNRWA, and one of the neighborhoods. That also they found also a tunnel next to this UNRWA clinic. Maybe even inside. I don't know. I don't want to say. I didn't see it in my own eyes inside, but I saw this tunnel 50 meters outside of this UNRWA hospital. Again, maybe the beginning, the entrance to the tunnel is from the hospital. I don't know, but it was what I saw was very close to the hospital of UNRWA. And also the schools of UNRWA, the materials, same materials in the schools of UNRWA. We saw some books with the logo of UNRWA. And I can tell you another thing. We were also in houses of wealthy people. You can see they are rich, even people. And in every house, even of the rich, the wealthy people houses, we saw some goods that were provided by UNRWA. So that means that everyone is using UNRWA, even if you are poor or if you are rich in Gaza. They're just using the international money, even if they have money. We did so very luxury private houses and buildings, and we also saw poor buildings. But most of the buildings, the apartments that I was in with my unit were very good, actually. Also, those who were more poor, they still had everything in the house: LCD TV and washing machines and computers and laptops and mobiles, everything.
I've heard many times people claiming that Israel's military response to October 7th has been disproportionate and caused excessive damage to Gazan civilians. On our channel, we have discussed the concept of proportionality and its correct use, which is related to individual attacks. So in order to judge about the proportionality, one should do a careful investigation about the military necessity of the attack and the collateral damage caused and the knowledge on which the decision to attack was made, etc., etc. But while the term proportionality is used incorrectly and as a propaganda weapon against Israel, the war has caused a lot of damage to civilians and infrastructure in Gaza. So after seeing the reality Hamas has built in Gaza, what is your sense of whether the war against Hamas could have been fought with less collateral damage?
First of all, after I saw that in every house we can find evidence of supporting terror, I can say clearly that there are no innocents in Gaza, and there's no such thing as uninvolved. They are all involved. They are all involved, this way or another, whether if they are active, if they are the terrorist, or if they are only supporting it by hanging pictures of terrorists. And I must say that also during this war, the orders is not to harm, not to shoot children, and not women, and not elders.
Mm.
And on October 7th, we saw children, and we saw elders, and we saw women also among the Gazans, the terrorists who broke into the communities in Israel. But yet, the orders are not to harm those.
Mm. I've thought about the fight against ISIS in Syria and in Iraq. For example, the battle of Mosul, which took 9 months. 90% of the infrastructure was destroyed afterwards or during that fight to expel ISIS from Mosul, and over 1 million people fled from Mosul, and the Kurdish Peshmerga units say that about 40,000 civilians were killed there. So you should compare it to some other fights, because there has been this kind of fighting against terror, Islamic extremist terrorist organizations. The difference is that in Mosul, ISIS didn't get this kind of very lavish money from Western countries, and it didn't build its rule for 17 years, but only for some months. So, but anyway, I wanted to ask, how did you feel that could it be possible for Israeli troops to fight like even more precisely?
Well, Israel bombed 10,000 of houses in the areas where they launched missiles, rockets from, and in the areas that they had and still have the tunnels, and where they hide some of the hostages, dead or alive. But Israel warned the civilians before.
Yes.
Israel led them the possibility to escape, and that's what most of them did. And if we speak about proportional, disproportional, so what the world expect us to do? Not to bomb the houses, maybe to go and rape Palestinian women and beheaded the children, and maybe put children into babies into the oven. There was this story that they put a baby into the oven, and even in Israel, over the social media, I was reading, some said it's not true, some said it's true. So I didn't know if it's true story or not. And then one day we were sitting in Gaza, and we met with some soldiers from a different unit, and one of them was fighting in one of the communities in the southern border on October 7th. And he told us that he saw it in his own eyes.
Yes.
He saw the baby in the oven.
Yes.
He told us it's a true story. I saw it.
Yes.
So what? So we better do that instead of bombing houses and warn the civilians before. So I prefer to ignore what the world say. If we will listen to the world now or before, Israel would have already not exist for a long time. Sorry.
Yes. So you mentioned about Yahya Sinwar.
Yeah.
So is there any idea where he's hiding?
I don't. Personally, I don't know. I have no idea where exactly is hiding. Maybe the IDF, maybe the Shin Bet, they know. Maybe they don't know. I don't know. But I think it's just a matter of time.
Yes.
Just a matter of time until Israel will find him and Muhammad Def and also Nasrallah in the future.
Is it possible that many Hamas leaders are already buried in the destroyed tunnels?
It's possible, I think, yeah. Many Hamas leaders and many terrorists. I think that it's possible that they are buried there. Some of them probably already dead in the tunnels. The tunnels were bombed, the tunnels were blocked, the tunnels were blown, and Israel also pumped water from the Mediterranean into some of the tunnels. But
Yes.
still, they have active tunnels. Also now, while we are speaking, they still have an active tunnels. They invest milliards in buildings, hundreds of kilometers of tunnels all around Gaza. It's amazing. It's
Yes.
amazing.
Are there any knowledge or any idea where could this last, or this still people who are still captives, where they might be?
I assume that most of them are in the tunnels. Many of them, I think, already dead. Some of them were buried. Some of them Israel brought. Our unit was involved in one operation with hostages. We lost 4 guys during this operation. So Israel is doing a lot. The IDF is doing a lot to bring them back, dead or alive. Sometimes we have bad stories, like those 3 hostages that were killed by IDF soldiers who was mistakenly thought they are terrorists. But Israel is doing all the time. The IDF, Shin Bet, and others, they are doing all they can to bring them, dead or alive.
Prime Minister Netanyahu said a few days ago that the war could last for months, maybe even this whole year. So, however, quite many IDF troops were apparently withdrawn from Gaza around the same time as you. So what is your perception of the situation of the war? And has Hamas's backbone already been broken, or is there still like a lot ahead?
So the IDF understood that since this war could last few more months, and we don't know what's going to happen with Hezbollah, the IDF decided to take the reserve unit out and to send us home to rest and be ready for a second call.
Yes.
Someday, and to continue with the obligatory soldiers and with also with other reserves unit that they are still fighting, and some of them will come back later.
Yes.
So that's the reason. But the war continues, and the first 2 months were I think the main and very important that was the very important time that the IDF moved forward, and now from the point it reached, it can do what needs with less forces.
Yes. How is it actually the life of the Jewish villages now in Judea and Samaria? How has the life? You haven't been there, obviously, after like for 3 months, but maybe you could tell something about what is the life for the Jewish settlements, or Jewish villages in Judea and Samaria.
Very, very tense. I can tell you that for example, reservists who called on the October 7th, they are still serving in Judea and Samaria.
Yes.
The army didn't release them yet. And many of the civilians, many women are carrying guns now. And there is a big dispute now about the future. You know, we had the relations of the Jewish communities, many of the Jewish communities with our Arab neighbors were based on an economy, on shared industrial zones, and many of them were working in our communities, buildings, and etc., etc. And now there is a big dispute between two perspectives. One perspective is that we should continue hiring them as it was before October 7th, but
Yes.
with more tight security around them. And the other perspective is no, we cannot go back to the October 6th, and we cannot let Arab workers into our communities, because we saw what happened in the communities in the Gazan border. Many of the intelligence, of the information to Hamas was brought by Arabs from Gaza who worked in those communities, in the kibbutzim. In the kibbutzim, there are, people should understand that most of the kibbutzim in Israel, their ideology background is a lefty background, and they were more supportive with relations with the Arabs, with the Arabs from Gaza, and they stabbed them in the back. There are stories about Arabs from Gaza who worked 20 and 30 years in the communities in the kibbutzim, and they came on that day together with the Hamas terrorists. Also, some of the terrorists, they had with permits to work in the state of Israel. So now in the communities in Judea and Samaria, the leading perspective is not to do that mistake again.
Is there like a lot of support for Hamas and for October 7th attack in Palestinian population in the West Bank?
Yes, I saw one survey. Maybe they were more, but I saw only one in the last 2 months, which, if I recall, 82% of the Arabs in Judea and Samaria supporting the act of Hamas and the Islamic Jihad in October 7th. 82%.
I've seen also some articles in Finnish media that there is a increased settler violence after the October 7th in Judea-Samaria or the West Bank. But on the other hand, I've seen statistics that there is actually a huge increase in Arab violence against the Jews in Judea and Samaria.
So this campaign is running for already 2 years. And after October 7th, the left organizations, Israeli left organizations and international left organizations, and with the support of the Biden administration, I think from one hand, the Biden administration is very supportive of the right of Israel to defend itself and all the security situation. But from the other end, they are promoting this campaign. I think for them it's easy, so they can say they support Israel here, but they criticize Israel here. So they're using this campaign, and Blinken, when he was here, was talking about it. But actually, the IDF released statistics about 2 weeks ago that shows that there is a decrease in the violence of so-called the settlers' violence against Arabs. And also, we have to understand that many times when the Arabs attack Jewish settlers with rocks, there are some Jews that react back and they're throwing rocks back. And so depends, how do you count it? You count the Arab rocks and then the react of the Jews, or you count only the react of the Jews and then you blame them for being violent. This is a pure political campaign that was started about 2 years ago, before October 7th, and they're just using it now as a weapon against Israel, against the IDF, and against the Jews in Judea and Samaria.
you are also one of those settlers, what we call settlers here, but you are a Jew living in Judea. So you know what you're talking about.
Well, we have in Judea-Samaria and in the neighborhoods of Jerusalem, which are behind the so-called Green Line, there are over 700,000 Jews living. So
in that number are some.
In that number, the incidents are minor, very, very minor, like crimes that you can find everywhere.
What do you think about Gaza after the war? Because I've seen that the US government, among others, has demanded that Gaza must remain so-called Palestinian territory, and that the Palestinian administration led by Fatah has been presented as an alternative government. So what do you think about this and about the future of Gaza?
And from August 2005, Gaza was empty of Jews, civilians or soldiers, nothing. And yet, again, with all the billions they received from the world, all what they did is building a state of terror, Hamas. And in the history of the land of Israel, in the modern history of the state of Israel, when the Jews started to come back in large numbers and build new communities, some of them together with the Jews who were living and stayed here in the land of Israel, it was always the leading idea that communities you build along the borders and communities are going together with security. If there will be no civilians living in an area, no communities, there will be no security. That's what happened after the disengagement plan. So in my opinion, we should go back to live in parts of the Gaza Strip. That's how we will provide more security to the state of Israel and to the land.
Yes. I guess it's so, because also in northern Samaria, I guess the situation is a little bit the same. There's no Jewish settlements there, and it's a very dangerous place.
It's the same. Yes.
Egypt, like also other Arab countries and even the United States, are demanding that Palestinian civilians are not being allowed to go out of the Gaza Strip. I feel this is very exceptional, because when you think about other military conflicts lately, millions of Afghans, Syrians, and Ukrainians have come to Europe and are granted refuge here or in other parts of the world. So do you have any idea why do these people want to keep Gazan civilians in the war zone?
Because they are being used by the Arab countries and by the West as a tool to put pressure on Israel. That's it.
Like to force them to stay in war zone, even though Israel has declared this kind of safety zones. But anyways, it's close to active war. So it seems to be very inhumane for me. But
I agree with you. To force someone to stay, if he doesn't want to stay, in a place that close to war, in a place that it's not suitable for living now, and it will take few years to force him. It's something that only dictators do.
In some level, one can understand Egypt, because Sisi is like fighting against Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and Hamas is a branch of Muslim Brotherhood, and so he feels maybe this tells what they see as like how they see Gazan civilians, that they are all like representing Muslim Brotherhood. And that's why they don't want to open Egyptian border for them or give refuge.
They are using them against Israel. From one side, they really don't want them, as you said, and we understand why they don't want them. And from the other side, it's another tool to put pressure on Israel.
So is there anything else you would like to share with us about this current situation or what you saw in Gaza, or anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, I want to say that we hear a lot about the reaction around the world against Israel, but I must say that I personally received a lot of messages from friends all around the world, Jews and Christians and others who are supporting Israel, who kept sending me messages and asking how am I doing, how my family is doing. And we need to understand, and the world need to understand, that we also have great friends around the world who cares about the common values.
Yes.
That we both need to unfortunately to keep fight for.
So you are in a front line, but we are not uninvolved either in the West. So we should pray and hope for the total victory of Israel over this kind of extremism and violent ideology, which is really poisoning also children. Like I don't have any doubt that Gazan children are suffering, but who has poisoned them? Who has poisoned their minds? So we should ask the right questions, and we should be clever and not naive. Not.
I just recently, last week, I received a WhatsApp from Africa. There was a massacre against Christians. I think it was Nigeria.
Yeah,
I think it was in Nigeria. And the guy who sent me, he said, "I wish we could fight it like you do in Israel."
Yes. They have a big problem with Boko Haram. Thank you for this interview, and thank you for your time. It was wonderful to see you and see you that you are doing well and your family is doing well. And we thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak and to tell people a little bit of what I experienced and what I saw.